Welcome everyone to this webinar powered by the Dubai International Content Market as we are breaking through with Arabic originals and the global potential of regional stories. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Leen Zayat. I studied directing and storytelling and graduated from the American University in Dubai in 2019. And I started in scriptwriting and content development career for film and TV and digital media since then. Allow me also to present our fellow speakers for this webinar, Joe Al-Khawand, the head of original operations at Yango Play, Heba Koraye, the founder of H.Consult, Rasha Audi, media research and insights lead at Rise Studios, and Kerim Emrah, managing director of MediaHub. So the Arabic language content has solidified its dominance in both Saudi Arabia and Egypt, with local demand continuing to rise, particularly since the pandemic in 2020. We have some Arabic original and adaptation titles that reach diverse audience outside the MENA region, and they actually did well. To name a few, we have Arawabi School for Girls, Al Heba, Head to Head, or Ras Bras, and the Giza Killer, Safah al Giza. So I'm gonna start with a general question to all our fellow speakers today. Based on these examples, and if you have other examples in mind, why do you think those titles and stories of recent Arabic originals did well? We can start with Joe.
Hi, Leen. Hi, everyone. Uh, I believe that in order to be able to get the content travel worldwide, it needs to have a big audience in its origin countries, and this is what happened with the examples that you mentioned. And I believe this is a start. This is where you need to start. It needs to be uh, uh, I would say a universal theme. If we go to the examples, it's crime, it's character-led stories, and I'd say that it could travel everywhere because human beings are the same here or everywhere, and the tension and the culture of fusion is there.
Yeah, if I can add to that as well, I think so. Those stories, like you mentioned, they have universal themes like identity, crime, etc. But what's unique about them is that they come from an Arab perspective, and that's why they stand out from the crowd. And as Joe said, that there's even though there's different characters, some characters that you like, some characters that you love to hate. I believe that character development and character arc is so important. As long as there's an emotional stake that with the audience, if they have an emotional resonance or connection with the character, then the language becomes secondary as well.
Yeah. My question would be now to Hiba. Since we're talking about data and numbers and from, let's say, a data-driven perspective, do you think we lack the data that proves the investment in Arabic content nowadays?
Hello. Thanks, Leen, for the question. I guess the data girl is Rasha on this call. I'm not a producer, so it's interesting to be here. I just happen to be working with the biggest producers in the Arab world. So I know kind of like the struggles, and I look. Originally, my education is in investments and finance, and looking at investment consulting. Now, creating video assets, it's not very different than creating anything, real estate or even investing in gold and currency and whatnot. At the end of the day, an investor would look at art or TV shows or films as an investment. So the most important thing would be measuring the ROI. And when it comes to Arabic entertainment and tradable video assets, as I like to call them, because there are video assets that you can trade and make money of, and then there's video assets that are just made for that cannot be traded on the content market. So to answer your question, is data important? Well, I think that's really what we lack. There's three very important elements for Arabic producers to use in order for them to create assets that would travel and that are, more importantly, that would make money on an international scale and also on the regional scale. And these three elements are data, marketing, and connections. Right? So these are the three very important elements for a producer to run a successful business. Otherwise, what we face here in the Middle East with the producers is that they're just waiting for the next project to happen. And because they're missing two of the elements, they might have the connections, but the two very important elements is where's my market? Where in the world are people consuming my content? How do I market it to the international folks? I'll give you some very, very important, some very interesting. I mean, we hosted the co-production salon, which I run at MIPCOM in 2024, just in October, and also working with the biggest Arabic producers, platforms. We were running marketing campaigns internationally. It's very interesting the way that the marketing material we receive, it's beautiful. I mean, these guys are professional creators, but they're in Arabic, and it just to some producers, it didn't occur to them. These are people producing multi-million-dollar drama series that are pirated and that are consumed and that are appreciated. The least the oversight is in marketing. So there are very, very simple things. We're doing the right things in all the right places, but I think we're missing some fundamentals. And I'd like to also take Emrah's opinion on this, since he's operating in a very big market.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Heba. So what I think about all this is, I mean, I agree with Heba. There is a big data problem. More than that, there is a big problem with the understanding of return on investment, especially on the producer's side. So, of course, as you know, I have the content distribution background. I have been distributing not only Turkish content, of course. My main expertise has been always Turkish content, but we have an expertise with content from Asia, content from Latam, and even some parts of Europe. I believe the Arabic content is the most closest example to the Turkish, and we have a massive potential around here. But due to all those facts that Heba has mentioned here, unfortunately, it's not very easy, especially for the producers, I believe.
Yeah. And we have a question from the audience that says, what strategies can content creators use to engage international audiences while retaining the interest of the local MENA audience? So this is, I guess, a general question to everyone. Maybe let's start with Rasha.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And we go back and forth with this. I think, like, what I always say is always think local. Like, when you're producing something, I think it's not to think local as just be authentic to yourself. You know what I mean? Don't try to replicate, because in that, if it's a good story with a good character, it will, and good production, of course, then there's always these proof points that it could travel. Like, I want to give an example of like Crashing Eid. Okay, so Crashing Eid is a title that basically the concept of the title is not very new. It's about culture clashes. It's about, introducing your future spouse to your family and all of that. But what was really good or different about Crashing Eid is that it was very authentic to the culture. You know what I mean? It was unique and unique to our perspective. And I believe that's what would work. It's very hard to like plan something to go viral before you actually create something. I really think that it should start with authenticity. and, being true to something, to a great product, you know what I mean? And then, of course, like how Heba said, working on the marketing, working on the data, if we can get it, you know what I mean? And then we can push it globally.
Maybe I can ask you also, from the Arabic point of view, the Arabic storylines and our original stories, what matters actually in our region?
Yeah, what matters is there's a lot of things that matter. So if we look at the themes, like the universal themes that we were talking about, all of them are very similar to our themes, right? But I think what makes us unique is, besides our unique perspective, our Arab perspective, is that when we talk about themes that are related to us, that when it comes to overcoming adversity, identity, especially family, so those things are unique to us, that we can hold that as an advantage.
Yeah. And did we actually make a global hit in the MENA region? Coming from our stories, original stories, do you think that we
Yeah.
made a global hit actually?
I think we're primed for our Squid Game moment. You know what I mean? We haven't had that one big title that, put us on the map yet. But I think because if you look at the demand in the market, in both MENA and globally, if you look at even within our region, there has been a 20% increase in demand for Arabic content over the last 4 years. That means our content is evolving in production-wise, it's evolving in the way we tell stories. And then if you look globally, the demand for Arabic content has increased by 40%. So right now we have all the groundwork that we can do, where we have better production quality. We're encouraging storytellers to say stories that are usually untold. We're being authentic, so we're primed for that Squid Game moment. Like you mentioned, the examples in the beginning, they traveled really well. And of course, there are many others that have traveled and probably will travel even more. But we are right now at this pivotal opportunity for us to create something that really, really accelerates the region.
Yeah.
Just on
So
that note,
sorry,
sorry,
go
Leen.
on.
On that note, I really like what Rasha is saying. She's speaking numbers. On that note, Rasha mentioned that there is the demand for Arabic content increased by 20%. Now, looking back to when the first original, by original I mean content funded by a platform, the first original created was in 2014, and then since then I tracked all the investments that happened by platforms on originals. 32% of all Arabic originals created were driven by investments from international platforms. So that's a third of all Arabic content created. So the opportunity was identified since 2014. And I work in the content market business, and I know that there is a lot of demand. Now, there's absolutely a lot of potential, like Rasha said. But sometimes people come to our market and they knock the door and they're disappointed to find out that either it's not marketed properly, like I understood, there's no data to back up where this information. So I think the Squid Game moment may have come already, but there were no indicators to catch it or to inflate it or to, you know what I mean? So like I said, I'm not a producer, but I do very much enjoy working with the producers and making sure that we drive ourselves towards that global excellence.
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of moments. So similarly to what you said, is that when I was at MIPCOM last year as well, there was an insight by Ampere Analysis saying that global streamers are expecting a 30% increase in customers within the region, and that with that headroom of growth in these markets, we're definitely investments will naturally follow. So I'm expecting from now on, hopefully, that there's going to be more investments in our region. I'm imagining a lot of co-productions and collaborations in order to accelerate our content.
Yeah, so there's a question coming from the audience. I guess it suits both Rasha and Hiba. Which regions outside the MENA market show the greatest potential for Arabic originals, in your opinion? And what genres or themes that resonate most with these audiences?
Yeah, you want to go first?
No, Rasha, you go first, and I'd also like to hear from both, before I answer, from both Joe and Emrah.
Yeah. So there's no telling exactly like where one story will go, but I think if you want to think about it logically, the way that our stories will go will be more popular is when we share the same tradition. So like you mentioned, like in Turkey or LATAM, you know what I mean, where we have those similar values. But what was interesting, like for instance, like Safah al-Giza, the Giza killer, did really well in Germany. You know what I mean? So there's no telling really where the story would go. But if we're looking at similar values, similar lifestyles, then I would say it would be LATAM, it would be like Turkey, it would be those markets.
I want to add something like one of the biggest challenge that we have, even before talking about international market, it's a global market because it's MENA region, but we have big countries in this MENA region where people are not consuming all the content coming out from this from the country. So,
Yeah.
and this is a criteria that even in movies and in box offices, we rarely to see like a box office movie, a big blockbuster running all over in all the countries. So this is a challenge. I think like even before thinking about the international market, but I want to add something regarding Squid Game and how to make it possible to go globally and internationally. Of course, it should be planned from the beginning, from the script writing even. In Squid Game, for example, if we can recall some of the games that has been played in the first season, like those games are universal. Like we know them, all of us, and it's not by any chance. The architecture, the even the costume that they were. So it's in every single piece of detail, from the production value to the content, and in all aspects. So this is something that should be planned. It didn't come from like and I want to give an example about the Turkish telenovela. It's traveled. It was planned to travel. It was like somehow so they tested. I believe Kerim would be able to explain more, but I believe that we need to plan it from the beginning because there is the culture fusion. This is a very important thing that needs to be taken into consideration in order to make any content travel from a country to a country and then from a region to a region.
I think Joe has a very valid point, and I guess it is extremely critical to hear platforms' needs. We really need to understand. Again, I am speaking from a distribution perspective. So I mean, all we need is always a good product, regardless of its origin. So the success is already there. I can give you an example. For example, El Heba's Turkish remake, last episode, has, if I am not wrong, has had the highest rating this year, 14.4, if I'm not wrong. This is rating. So this is an amazing number. So this remake of a Turkish remake of this great Arabic script will travel all around the world. Regarding the target audiences, I think in order to answer that question, we need to define target audiences with which kind of product, because are we talking about telenovela kind of productions, or are we talking about originals like 10 episodes, 60 episodes? Because the consumers of those contents are still very different, and I believe as long as free-to-air stays, that difference will be always on the table. Speaking of the territories, LATAM, US Hispanic, Brazil, Mediterranean countries, Eastern Europe, Russia, all CIS countries, Central Asia, some certain parts of sub-Saharan Africa. Those are, I believe, from my perspective, should be the natural target audience of Arabic content. And I don't think that will be very hard, as long as the ecosystem will allow the producers and, of course, the platforms create the right product. I think all we need is a much more communication. And again, that was a very valid point. It is not easy to produce in MENA for MENA audience, because MENA is already a multi-territory place, multi-country territory. So it has to perform very well in its country, in MENA. Then afterwards, there will be a great success globally. This is what I think.
Yeah, so I guess now it came up to my mind that we can ask everyone between Arabic originals from, as we're talking, that the MENA region is already, we have three main factors. We have the Gulf, we have the Levant, we have Egypt. Do you think we should think local first or global first?
So on that point, Leen, just I want to, it ties into actually the previous question about which I didn't get a chance to give my 2 cents on, about where Arabic content most likely will travel. Now, there's, from my point of view, both distribution and consumption of Arabic entertainment. Now, the easiest thing to look at is distribution, because that's what we can measure, what we can see from a content market perspective. What kind of deals are being done with who, what kind of requests do distributors in the Middle East get? From that point of view, it's to answer the question very precisely, the demand for Arabic content usually comes from the East, not from the West. So like Rasha and like Joe said, and also Emrah, the demand for this type of, for Arabic content usually comes from countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, Brunei, and they're all typically looking for Muslim-friendly type of content, but then they get surprised. And then, but if we look at the, I can see Rasha smiling there. But then if we look at where the actual consumption happening, so if we look not from the business perspective, but from the consumption perspective, what are people actually consuming? Now, the data sources here, it differs. So you can go to companies like Ampere Analysis, like Parrot, and like Rasha mentioned, and I'm very fond of the Parrot system because it gives you detailed insights where, like, the countries. But also another metric that I've started to following since I started following Ramadan series investments in 2017 is piracy data. That is a gold mine, because it tells you where in the world are people, is your business, as a producer, where is your business? So if you're finished, there's 5 MENA territories. So if you're done with selling to these 5 separate rights, because typically you would sell rights to 5 separate territories in the MENA region. And then, so if you want to go beyond that, where is your market? Are you going to go east? Or are you going to go west? Or are you going to go to Russia? Or are you going to go to... So I think that metric is very, very important. And there is, like I said, Parrot offers amazing insights into that. There's, I'm sure, other companies that can provide insights on the piracy metric, and then other metrics as well, like IPTV and whatever it is. So that's my 2 cents.
Let me add, Heba, please, one thing about this, because like there is different kind of travel for the content. We have the remake, dubbing, and translation. So, and it needs to be discussed, like each one, it has like its own way of traveling, because it's not the same. It's not going to be the same. If we're going to be, and this is very important, Heba, thank you for mentioning this, and I believe there is a thin line like the thin line to have a balance between conservative and progressive content, and this is the thin line that we're seeing and experiencing in the telenovela, in the Turkish telenovela, traveling all over the world. So I think and this is needs to be very and to be very honest, like about authenticity, like and about authenticity there is a thin line, because authenticity can go to a limit where you can't relate worldwide with this specific character and this specific habits, but there is like we are at the end of the day, we are human being, and we have the same components. So at a certain point we need to take this into consideration since the day one of planning the project. And the Heba, this is very important as well. Like we're not planning it, we're not preparing our marketing kit to go to travel. So the marketing kit is planned to be like uh just local, done, thank you so much. So uh we're in Yango Play, we're trying to invest, we're investing in Arabic original production, and this way we'll try to make this content travel. We're trying to work into with the high concepts, yet authentic to the country. So I hope this balance could make our content travel worldwide.
A question for you, Joe, from the audience, since you're mentioning the new strategies at Yango Play. So, can you describe for me the strategies that ensure the Arabic originals how can they remain culturally authentic while appealing to a global audience?
It can be led by example, honestly speaking, because it's really in every single detail of the script. It's in every single detail of the character arcs, the plot, and everything. But it's not, we're not like, it's something that we can do. It has been done. We need just to follow the education of making it done in each project by itself, because it can't be like generalized in any way.
And do you think we lack the production value, or is it a writing challenge in the region? I
Not
mean,
at
what
all. Not at all. We're in terms of production, we're delivering very important. I'm not talking only about Yango Play Originals. I'm
yeah,
talking about the whole industry. We're delivering a very good. No, I'm not, of course, like in majority of the project, very good production value. Even I would say now, I will talk about the originals. We're taking into consideration in the specs to be dubbed, translated, and every like in the delivery specs of the content. We're planning it, and we're trying to make it happen. The lack that we have is the understanding of, or maybe I'd say to discover the whole thing, like, and to work hard on it. It's a content thing.
it's a content. What maybe a message would you give to content writers, script writers, creatives from a creative perspective? Yani, if we want to
Uh, I would
takeaways.
say this is thank you for this question. Not only for making our content international, even in making global and local content, we need to take into consideration how important is the content, even for the producers, not for the writers. Writers should be working hardly on their projects and like focusing on the project, like, and making it like its own baby, not to have
Yeah.
like in kilos. Like we have this project. We got pitched this way. I believe all of us, we got pitched projects this way. So we need them to be focusing on their projects. And for the producer, the writers are the most important element in this field. So please make sure to choose the right project, to spend the money in the right place. And there is an example that says that it's the production here is in the pencil. So this should be the most expensive part of the production, because it's the writing way, and where it starts to be planned a very good project.
Okay, now I have a question for Karim. What role do co-productions with international studios or platforms play in expanding the reach of Arabic originals? and how has MediaHub leveraged this approach?
This co-production topic has been a big issue. By the way, not only in MENA, but also everywhere. This is, of course, we see co-production as a tool to make it happen. So far, as MediaHub, what we have achieved is a lot of co-financing examples. So we have success. But in means of real co-productions, I think this will be really doable when pan-regional platforms, not global platforms, pan-regional platforms will try to collaborate. This will only exist then, because other than that, for example, in the Turkish example, even like with all that global success, we do not have a real co-production. We have a lot of co-financing examples, which is good for everyone that is putting money for that, but real co-productions, I'm sorry, but if the language is different, if there is a big cultural difference, and if the product is being consumed in different screens with different habits, that is very problematic. For example, in Turkey, we produce for mainstream TV 135 minutes per episode. So if I want to, for example, co-produce a title that will be on Yango and on a mainstream TV channel, how can we do it? That is a big wall sitting in front of us. But just one point regarding the previous question, I think that authenticity is very important because sometimes I see some examples that, I mean, there is an unmeasurable optimum level for that. If it's like too local, barely anyone can understand. I mean, by local audiences in different places. But if they try to be very international, that can also look very fake. And that fake look can be even seen in some very limited number of co-production examples. That is a very big threat, which results with a quite low return on investment ratio, which is, I believe, a big problem.
Yeah, and I want to follow up with Rasha because we have also an interesting question. How do you determine the viewing demographics for Arabic content on platforms outside the MENA region?
Yeah, so as Heba mentioned, we do have I've been in this industry for over 10 years, like media insights in specific. The data has evolved and improved so much since then, but we do still lack the data. So we do have like parent analytics, which is great, which is telling us who is demanding our content or where it's reaching, but we don't understand especially the demographics. What we do assume is that there's a lot of markets, you assume that it's the diaspora, you know what I mean? The Arab diaspora, like if we're saying it's doing well in America or if it's doing well in Canada, for instance, then you understand that that's mainly being led by the diaspora. But understanding outside of that, understanding the demographics, at least myself personally, we don't have that information yet.
I would also love to have Heba on this question to
Thanks, Leen. Thanks, Rasha. Look, I have a different point of view on this. I mean, I'm very focused on the return on investment and at the end of the day, producers need to run a business. So as long as from an outside, not creative, not production point of view, As long as it's being exported, as long as there is money coming in as imports, nobody cares who's watching what. So for me, the demographics would only be relevant if we're trying to serve ads on the asset, because then, targeting and whatnot and make money from that. But if you're trying to operate in a content market, the way that the Turkish industry does, they have 600,000, more than $500 million in exports of Turkish dramas, then nobody really cares who's watching. It's lovely to have that information, of course, like Rasha said. But I think on a content market level, it's kind of irrelevant if we just want to focus on the investments and ROIs. We just need to prove that there's markets beyond MENA, and that whoever is going, if I'm advising an investor, I'd be able to demonstrate the distribution ROI over 5 years, because I know I can sell to different markets at these prices. So that's kind of the way I look at it. And when I look at various at data, back to the original question about where it travels, at almost every single instance, it's very interesting. I see Turkey pop up. If Arabic content travels, there's always Turkey somewhere in there. So absolutely, I agree with Joe, Rasha, also with Emrah, about that there's a lot of cultural aspects to this, and I think also when it comes to co-productions, so far, like as far as this has been a thing, and now it's increasing, the whole co-production interest. I think if it's about time that the Turkish industry or the Turkish drama industry looks at the Arab world differently, not as a not as a region that they can just sell to and not take from, but actually collaborate with. Because if they don't start doing that soon, guess what's going to happen? We're already seeing it. They're instead the Arabic industry, the Arabic consumers are one of the biggest, the top 5 or 3 consumers of Turkish drama. But then if you look at what's coming out into the Arabic, they're Turkish remakes, the 100-episode series, very similar coming out of the Levant. So I think it's about time that there's more collaborative efforts between the two countries, and make content that really sits well with both audiences. There are lots of like Emrah said, it's very tricky. It's not straightforward, but I'm sure things can be worked out where it's beneficial for everyone.
And maybe Heba or Rasha, how do you use how do you sorry, there's a question for both of you. How do you use market data and insights to guide the Arabic creators? I mean, talking about advertisements related to the Arabic originals. How do you use the market data to guide creators?
Yeah, so there's so again, I've been working in this industry for a really long time, and then when I say data, creators go like, no, like, you know what I mean? So it's always seen before as like science versus art, and I'm just glad that's no longer the case. So what I do, especially when we're coming into a new project, I sit with the creators and we try to work together where we can. So I try to inform decisions, and it's a fine line, inform decisions while maintaining, the most importantly, the creative integrity of the project. So even though I can advise and I can say things, when it comes to creativity, there's always something that we have to like make sure that not all data can really tell you what like chemistry, you know what I mean? We can't really evaluate that, but data comes in very strong when it comes to other decisions. So it has to be something where we both agree that we want to work on, like data and art can work together to create a special project. So it's informing decisions while maintaining creative integrity.
Yeah. And
Joe had something to say there.
Heba first, please.
Really, I don't have anything to add to this. I'm not a creative person, but But I totally agree with Rasha when it comes, it's kind of like creating, when you have somebody really creative and that has that skill, we see it a lot of in artists, people that create beautiful sculptures and also beautiful paintings. These are creators. They would love to have $100,000 million to put into their art. And and then our job is to translate that like into business. So it would be very wrong, I would say, as somebody judging this industry from and not being the one making the art, to dictate based on data what they should make. Because naturally it will come, stories that travel will come from these creative. And we as Arabic producer, we as an Arabic industry, we don't lack the narrative is actually the strength of this industry. I mean, look at all the big classics that traveled and were popular, like Ali Baba, Arba'in Harami, Ala ad-Din. All these are actually Arabic narratives that have been adopted by many cultures. So the narrative is what we have, and yeah, so the creativity will just come by itself.
Yeah, I think the strength of data especially comes uh, in the beginning when it comes to the ideation phase, but also like not necessarily in the middle when it comes to the actual application of the production. But I also think the strength of data in this industry is at the end when we have the proof points. So when we can say this is how it did, this is what went well, this is the learning from next time. I think that's the power of data that will help inform, and that's where we inform as well the creators. But again, especially when you're an insights person coming into this field, you have to make sure that the creativity has to come first. So, but as much as possible, we try to inform decisions where we know, like, because it's been many years of this experience, I know where it is where it's not supposed to be data, where creativity has to win, you know what I mean? So it's about knowing how to marry the two, again, art and science together.
Yes, can I jump just 1 second to say that I'd love to say to call it science more than data, because data is not fair, because it's hard to predict anything, it's hard to predict, and the production cycle is a 1 year to 2 years to 3 years sometimes, so you will never be able to predict what people would interact to this project in a year and a half. And this is something wrong happening in a way or another when we see a hit, for example, as a true crime, like it hit it and it did a great, and then we see a lot of people going to do true crime, and then you will end up with a lineup full of true crimes, and we will be serial killers in a bit. So I'd say I think I let's call it science, because and art is part of the science. There is an anatomy of for writing, so we're not far from each others, uh, but data, of course, will help more, and science will help more on when to release, which cast to have, and similar answers. But the story is there, and I would say that yes, we don't lack the narrative. We had the first storytellers in the history, but still we need to work on. We need to work hard on our storytelling and writing skills and writing tools in the Arab world.
My question for you, Joe, can you share any upcoming projects or innovations at Yango Play from your pipeline that you believe it will further maybe elevate the Arabic storytelling globally on a global scale?
Here, let me go back to what Heba mentioned, because it's not only
Yeah.
about it's yes, storytelling, and in each project we're building, we're making it in a way we're trying to keep the balance, and we're keeping the balance between authenticity and high and high concepts. But here I will add to it the marketing and the sales that will be leading on this side. But what I say and what I promise is that in each and every project, it's hard to get and now we're doing business. It's an art, but it's business, and we need to get our ROIs. And ROIs won't happen if we don't sell our projects outside the MENA region. And we will start, and I believe this is something that we can ask to our sales team and our consultant here, but it needs to be distributed locally and distributed universally. It's
Mm.
not that it's a Yango Play original that I want to only air it on my platform and then I won't give it to anybody else, not even to my competitor. I don't like to call it competition, but it's this way. So it needs to be distributed all over the MENA region, even between digital and free-to-air channel, and this is how content can go viral, and no virality if we don't try to sell our projects and our originals everywhere in every for like in any circumstances.
Yeah, and I would
That
love also to
answer?
take Rasha's point of view or Kerim on this, going local and then going global.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all go back and forth on this. I'm still with the, and I agree with all the points that were mentioned before about being a thin line between being hyper local and authentic. I think that's the thin line that we have, where you don't want to be hyper local, but you do want to remain authentic. For me, in my opinion, I think if we don't do something if we do something with the global mind first, going global first, again, a thin line, I think audiences will read through that and it won't be as authentic. Like the example I gave for Crashing Eid, because the concept is very it's been done before. Like the show, that what the show is about has been done before, but how it was like created for the region, how it was said through the like the creator's eyes, being authentic, I think that's where we need to start from. But I agree with all the points that there is a thin line between being hyper local, being authentic, thinking a little bit, having those things that would appeal to more of the global audiences. But for me, it's always trying to be, speak to your people first. You know what I mean? Be true to you yourself as a creator, and then expand.
I have a bit of I'm glad we're talking about this now. As usual, I have a point of view that maybe is a lot might not agree with, but when I look at the transactions or the deals that the Arabic content market is getting, I feel that because we're not Korea, we're not yet making Squid Games. We're not Latin America. We're not known for our beautiful telenovelas. We're not the U.S. or Korea, or we're not known for something specific as the MENA industry, the MENA content industry. So when we look at when the requests come in, and also when you look at consumption data, you find that the genre that's topping the charts is historical, right? A lot of people already know that. Now, are we consuming historical series in our part of the world? No, we're not. The Arabs don't like prefer the drama series, the social dramas or whatever is trending now, like the serial killers, and at some point what was trending was the action thrillers. So we consume that. We don't. So I think first we need to establish we're not known for historical dramas. So when people come to buy that stuff from us, they either find overpriced products, or or it's not what they expect, so they go to Turkey and buy it from them, which is fine. But I think we should establish ourselves as similar to other industries. So if you're selling fruits, vegetables, if you're exporting, I always see that even medicine, there is products made for regional consumption, and then there are products made for international consumption. So I think it's a very similar thing. Like if the industry wants to export Arabic entertainment, we have the narrative we have 5 different regions sub-regions in the MENA region. So I'm sure there is narrative there that can also be true local, but also resonates globally. And I think that's where we need to see. So if the industry experiments with something, I think it's the good time to experiment with creating content that resonates globally first, made for what the world expects from us, and export that, excel in that, establish an Arabic name in that area, and then maybe try with the other social stuff that we're good at producing and that's consumed locally. That's just my 2 cents on this topic.
Yeah.
May I add my thoughts on this
Sure.
measurement and data issues? I have very big questions about that. I mean, I know Heba has a lot of data and information, and she has a lot of information coming from that part of the business. But I am really not very sure who is the sample, who measures who measures what, with what dynamics. I have very big question marks because, with all my respect, those companies coming from the West, they have, I believe, very limited understanding about the dynamics here, what is going on. Therefore, still, for example, with also a lot of problems. For example, the rating measurement, commercial television's rating measurement in Turkey is a very big guideline for us. Still, instead of having a lot of problems, and the results that we see every day at 10 a.m. here in Turkey is also, I mean, the success there that is generated on commercial television is also translated to global success. But as also Heba said, for example, those historical titles, I mean, people think that like MENA is watching historical titles only, or Arabic content is only about historical titles. That is not correct. Though there are great examples of that. That is my bet that I have seen some very important examples of that just recently, like last year. If I'm not wrong, Yango had a couple of them, but if I'm not wrong, the most powerful one that I have seen was the Assassins. It was like amazing. I mean, it was a great example of historical content. And with all that commercial success, global commercial success, from my perspective, we don't have, as Turkish, we don't have a similar example of that title. Because what we do is extremely commercial and we do telenovelas. Therefore, I think that it should be a decision making that has to be done in MENA when it comes to global success. Will it go into the direction of telenovelas, or should it go into the direction of short form drama? Of course, it can coexist, but how? Just allow me to give one example of a very successful title that has been just recently launched, like a couple of weeks ago, on the public broadcasters platform that was launched a couple of years ago. The name of the title is called Gasal. I guess this is also the Arabic word. This is a profession. It's a very Islamic. I mean, only in this part of the world people would understand that. So from that perspective, it was very local. However, how it was designed is not that local. Uh, because for many years ago, I watched 6 Feet Under, and I felt in love with that title. Though in my culture, I have nothing to relate about it. However, it's still my favorite show. But again, in this Turkish example of Gassal, it was very popular. By the way, it's still very popular, watched by millions and millions of people here in Turkey. I think those has to be considered in a synergy.
Yeah. I guess we're wrapping up with the session right now. We still have 5 minutes left. So I would love to ask everyone a shared question. How are global OTT platforms approaching the investment in Arabic originals from your point of view? I mean, I'm going to take answer from everyone in the room. So maybe
Uh,
let's start with Joe.
allow me, Leen, to just comment one thing on Emrah's
Yeah, sure.
question. Like and this will include and what we are doing, what is our slate going. So coexisting of limited series and long run telenovela series is something that we all aim for. And because there is different kind of making this content travel, like again dubbing and translating and remaking, I think this is the this is our aim, to be able to make those coexist. We just released فقرة الساحر. It's a heist adventure series in Egypt, and nothing in this project can't travel outside the region. And we're receiving calls to distribute this project like locally, like it's still on our platform, being released on weekly basis, and we received this call. So it says that this project can travel, is designed to travel content wise, yes, marketing wise, we need to do it. And we're just talked about our coming original Prestige, which is a crime comedy. I think those kind of genres can travel in limited series everywhere. And we're producing our long run 45 episode span Arab, and this is in a telenovela kind of story with a fast paced, not very soapy event. So we have this kind of slate that is designed to travel in terms of in like limited series, 8 episodes and so on, and the long run 45 episodes. uh and now back to the question. I think the main and the need. Let me not comment on other platforms, but just let me say that Yango Play is like investing in, even when we went to go to produce 45 episodes, we went to create an original script. So we're investing in Arab content, and we're aiming to make this Arab content travel everywhere.
Yeah. And maybe from Russia and Heba as well. How are the global OTT platforms approaching in the investment in the Arabic content? So I guess this is the one I'm gonna end with.
I think the potential and the success of Arabic stories already have been proof points for these global platforms that we are a market to watch and we are a market to invest with. So I believe that there's going to be continuous investment in Arabic titles.
Okay. So do you think there are possible risks of only investing in the Arabic content, if any?
Risks, I mean, I don't think global platforms are only investing in Arabic content alone. I don't think they're only investing in Arabic content.
Yeah, okay. Coming to the end of our webinar, I would like to thank all of our speakers today, Heba Koraye, Joe Khawand, Rasha Audi, and Kerim Amara, for joining us. I hope we highlighted the Arabic originals and the global potential panoramically in the region and also globally. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you everyone for being here in this session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.